Hello, hello, and thrice hello. This is a hard sell special related to my epic examination, Fallen Star. If you haven't watched it already, please waste an hour of your day and learn. Done that? Well, up yours. Onto the context of the set of adverts. We're looking at some pre-Murdochian Star TV.
Watching the Star TV network.
MTV to be more accurate. Given the time zone affair, let's suppose this is from September the 10th, 1992, or a day or two later, because we're looking at the 1992 MTV Video Music Awards. Kurt Cobain was still alive. Star TV had just turned 1 year old. Two of their channels had the Star name attached to them, and MTV and the BBC were doing just fine. The whole Mao Zedong documentary debacle hadn't happened yet, and Star was Pan-Asian harmony with a dash of American flavour. Reminder to our viewers, this was the first attempt at an Asian MTV. The second one didn't come until the mid-90s, with Viacom desiring to re-enter the Asian market around the same time as the launch of Nickelodeon in the area was on the cards. The channel we're looking at now is its predecessor, which was eventually replaced by Channel V. In fact, at the time of recording, it has mere days to live. Also noteworthy is the fact that the channels were strapped for advertisers, partly due to the FTA effect, and partly due to skepticism from a handful of countries. A report from around that time suggested that Mitsubishi, Nike, and Coca-cola were among the largest advertisers, just to show how crap they were to get any of that. In fact, I think we have to start with Coca-Cola. The sing-along, brainwashing, Ipcress file style, always campaign didn't happen to them yet. And instead they were toddling around all the possible configurations from the past couple of years they had in their favour. Straight face is the idea is supposed to be. This just reflects about 90% of the Coke ads of the period. You got some kind of desperately underprivileged man in his late teens witnessing the battery of his tape player wind down, only to realize that Coca-Cola is the ultimate machine. Period. The same premise, although in another way, was applied for the next ad. Another ad devoid of actual human speak, perfect for international travel. But the message is clear this time. It's for Nike tennis sneakers. And now the obligatory Hutchison-related plug. Hutchison being the holding company who set up and at this time still owned Star. Back then they were Hutchinson Whampoa, now they're CK Hutchison. This time it's for Watsons.
Pure water helps make everybody perfect. Watson's Pure Distilled Water. Perfect.
Watsons being a brand name owned by A.S. Watson, which to this day remains a subsidiary of C.K. Hutchison. In fact, remember Watsons from the Singaporean episode? I was wrong. Turns out that they were a part of CK after all. They even branched out to the Middle East and Europe. They didn't get to the West, though. The only European markets they have are Russia and the Ukraine, which doesn't really count as the West, so it's all relative. More Hong Kongness, the Siamese clothes retailer Giordano.
World without strangers. Giordano.
Unlike Watson's name, even Hutchison subsidiary. Given the current situation where Hong Kong's immersed in, ads with messages like these wouldn't even work nowadays. Giordano asked for a world without strangers. 10 years down the line, an ad like that wouldn't work already. Now in an age of new super hyper ultra mega nationalism and increasingly selfish countries, it certainly wouldn't find its place for some kind of inclusion campaign instead. This ad could be from 1991 at the earliest, shortly after the USSR was dissolved and even the Central Asian market, unaware of the Russian networks that were pouring in at the time, became eligible to pick up Star TV. Remember when I said Central European in part 1? I had a brain fart and was supposed to say Central Asian instead. You know, the stands that are in Afghanistan and Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, you know what I mean. Now here's some kind of Coca-Cola ripoff which I have never seen in my life until seeing this video. This ad break, that is.
And this week, still at the top of the pops, here's Thumbs Up with Taste the Thunder.
Taste the thunder. Taste the thunder. Oh, yeah. Thumbs up. Taste the thunder.
Thumbs up. Yes, that's what it's called. No B for some reason, like a misspelled strong bad email. You'll be forgiven for thinking it was a Canadian drink, but no, it's actually Indian. Thumbs Up was launched in 1977 in the wake of the ban of Coca-Cola in India, and is still somewhat popular among the crowds that still prefer that over clean water. The ad clearly tried emulating what the real Coca-Cola was doing in the Western world. In fact, at the time this ad break was recorded, India had just reopened its doors to multinationals, including, this time, Coca-Cola, although they didn't come back until 1993. Pepsi had made its comeback in 1991. Taste the Thunder is still a slogan. They still exist with a slightly more updated version of their logo, and ironically, they are now actually made by Coca-Cola. Once they were let back, its Thumbs Up really had no chance between them and Pepsi. One or the other was going to buy them out, and it was Coke.
The University of Saskatchewan, brought to you by the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce. Located in Saskatoon, Canada.
Oh, I wasn't even expecting that. The University of Saskatchewan? Seriously?
The University of Saskatchewan has a vibrant research program and graduate studies in 13 colleges. We specialize in agriculture, veterinary medicine, the health sciences, commerce, law, and engineering. Our researchers work with their counterparts around the world in every field of study. For more information, please write the Community Relations Office, University of Saskatchewan.
Apparently, Star TV booked lots of slots for Canadian universities, backed by the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce. That bank still exists as of 2021, and still uses a colonial-sounding name, despite Canada these days being very much against the idea of colonialism. How PC that country has become. Something tells me that these ads were a lure to bring in more South Asians to Canada, as a Southall 2 wasn't enough. Join Southall, travel to France.
Southall Travel, the future of travel.
They say it's the future of travel, but look at your Sky News-inspired logo. I mean, give me a break, Southall Travel.
Introducing Star TV's Facts on Demand program guide.
Facts on Demand program guide. Supposed to be program. American-sounding flair with British spelling. It was indeed the dying days of British Hong Kong, after all, and I think even the PRC uses American spellings now. When they have to use English at all, that is. Anyway, it's an ad for their fax service.
Just dial Hong Kong on 852-172-77700, wait for the tone, and press Start or your polling button. Within seconds, for the price of a 1-minute fax, you will receive highlights from all 5 channels, plus details on how to access daily or weekly program guides. Star TV's Facts on Demand.
Even though you were still a British colony, you had to overcomplicate your phone numbers. Hooray for abominating. And even they insisted on using American dollars, as they thought their own currency was unlikely to take Asia by storm. And that, with a couple of skips, was the break before the VMAs. There is still some time left before we can finish it off with a eulogy of sorts. Incidentally, just like the 1996 Singaporean Silver Screen Awards, the advertisers were mostly the sponsors of the event. There are a few more ads I decided to squeeze in this episode.
I'm Carl Lewis. Look up, listen up, the one-up.
It's Carl Lewis for Panasonic.
I seem to remember a young strongbad thinking that Olympic sprinter Carl Lewis was a woman, and that he was hot.
Remember when the television sets were changing for the changing times? Finally, a flat-screen TV! But one that still required a CRT or something like it.
The one-up TV from Panasonic has a flat screen and AI control for a beautiful picture. Plus, dome sound system. That's one-up. That's the one for me and me.
Panasonic.
As usual, the Japanese were further ahead. I recall seeing an Ikegami monitor at a Galp service station in October 2018, although that was a security item, if anything, and was switched off. Look, the AIs were already getting their grip on the electronics scene in 1992. When Japan was a future, and the Seiko quotes put, "The future never looked so good." Sorry, China, but I miss the days when all those bootlegs were more profitable than TCL and Xiaomi. The first smartphone I ever touched belonged to my father back in 2008, and was one of those Chinese ones that had that magic sushi game and a TV tuner. Certainly wasn't that smart. It's Giordano again, this time in China. I won't criticize this ad because I don't want to offset any electronics backlash from the Panasonic commercial.
World without strangers. Giordano.
Another CIBC ad, this time for the University of Waterloo, this time with a male voiceover. I'll let the ad speak for itself.
Cool, clear water, the lifeblood of civilization, and in some corners of the world, increasingly scarce. Sources of water disappear, and pollution can poison what's left. Researchers from the University of Waterloo in Canada travel the world helping nations with their water supplies. Innovative, dynamic, the University of Waterloo in Canada with accomplishments around the world.
Catch the spirit of family
Another Japanese company, Yaohan, a retailer that used to have stores across much of the eastern half of Asia. It went bust in the 1997 Asian financial crisis. They're singing about how family is important and all that jazz.
Yoha, a better life for everyone.
Wait, Johan? Is that what you're supposed to pronounce it in English? I mean, it's a Japanese company. You're supposed to pronounce it as Yaohan. In Chinese, they literally translated the kanji name to Babaihan or something. A better life for everyone. The slogan wouldn't have any place at all in this day and age, especially when you consider the chain to have long since been defunct.
Someone close is feeling down. And Archie's card can say, in a very special way, Archie says you care.
Archie's Cards, a very special way to say you care.
Another Indian name, Archie's Cards. Finding info about it seems to be hard, but from pure Kahooti and guesswork, it seems to be an Indian company. Clearly all the actors are Indian, of the highest class. If you look for them on Google, most of the results are Indian, but I cannot find any concrete information about the company. Is it from Mumbai or something? Another Coca-Cola ad because resistance is futile. This message was brought to you by someone who doesn't drink it. This message was brought to you by someone who doesn't drink it. A plain pun where lots of red things appear before the real red thing appears, and icy red becomes icy red, or technically icy brown, but Coca-Cola didn't even fall for that. To round it off, here's another product of its time, Tower Records announcing the new Roxette album.
Roxette 引爆92年新专辑《Tourism》，台湾、香港抢先全球发行 ，Tower Records 及各大唱片行均售。
By then, Tower Records had opened up its first store in Taipei, and at its apex, it had 3 in the city alone.
大家好，我们是五月天。无音乐，有无性命？爱音乐，爱生命，爱 Tower。不一样的唱片行 ，Tower Records。Tower
台中店正式开幕，台中星光3月百货10楼。
They all shut down in December 2003. Before long, its American overlords were biting the dust too. So here we are, 29 years later, witnessing the dying days of the channel it replaced, Channel V. MTV Asia is still alive, still healthy, but Channel V has been struggling in the past few years. The one in India, which used to be one of the most lucrative markets after the regionalization of the service, essentially dropped the music and did an MTV, albeit with less reality content, in 2012, before eventually collapsing in 2018. Australia's version was a rename of the secondary Channel V service, effectively promoted when the main one shut down in 2014. Murdoch was so fond of it that he wanted to emulate the formula in the Australian market through his buying of XYZ, the network that ran a number of channels under the now erstwhile Australis Galaxy. But that shut down in 2020 because of an arrangement with Viacom CBS to provide their array of music channels catered for the Australian market. Those channels were later launched on Fetch TV. Since at least 2018, Channel V International has been reduced to plain old music videos and has become the only feed to be owned by Disney. The Australian feed was still owned by Murdoch because, Australia. Apparently, what led to its downfall was the meteoric rise of Korean music in much of Asia, and that was some time before Gangnam Style was even uploaded. And that was before Gangnam Style was even really. And that was before Gangnam Style existed. The market turned out to be so lucrative that now all of Southeast Asia is looking after Korean music, dramas, and trends. Channel V was stuck with music from practically the Western world, and entertainment from that world is becoming less interesting to Asian eyes, as such entertainment was unable to compete with channels that were more relatable to their taste, such as TVN and Mnet. Another side effect of recent world events is that some countries are effectively closing off to foreign interests, thinking that their homegrown content is better than any content coming in from a foreign state. And some countries have a decent TV industry seem to use local productions mostly for the lowest common denominator, and it's depressing. Such as what's happening in Portugal, really. Mind you, there are even entire countries announcing Western music and entertainment, claiming it to be decadent. Iran used period dramas from Korea as an offset for Western content, while still legally importing American cartoons and doctoring people with short sleeves. Women, that is. Here in Portugal, although BTS is gaining a foothold, I don't see any channel playing any BTS music video, and they haven't even toured Portugal. It's almost as if our country didn't even exist to at least 99% of all K-pop stars. Star TV is likely going away, in theory or in practice. As I said at the end of my angle of -1 about the programming in its golden ages rather than anything else, especially its influence in Europe, hopefully all of the streaming chaos means nothing, and the new Star TV will open soon. Disney now has a star branding that will be implemented by the former Fox-branded channels, just like what they did in Latin America. But as King Triton, aka Bob Chapek, said, linear TV is for the people of the past. A reverse King Triton. Remember the first Little Mermaid movie where up until Ariel became a human, he hated humans. So here, the streaming human merman overlord controls the lucrative streaming market of the human world, while the mer world, that those without streaming like me, are stuck without any alternative. This King Triton comparison is a little lopsided, but I think it has its own reason to be. And so we've come to the end of Farewell to the Star. And now it's time to continue the sacrifice. If you haven't watched Fallen Star already, I command you to watch the 4 parts of it. Oh well. Sayonara, everyone.